Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to another True Crime Time with Junebug. That's me. And yes, it's been a while because the last video I uploaded, I should say we because it's technically both me and Genesis's channel still, but the last video we did that's not as short was about the boss bear. And I'm bummed that only got 3 views because I thought that thumbnail with the bear wearing the sunglasses looking cool would attract people in, but I guess not. I sounded very Michigander just then. So this is a true crime this time. I'm not telling you about a bear or a lion or ship cats or a coyote. I've gone through a lot of animals, I guess. But I do want to preface this that I did learn about this case from Bailey Sarian. It was like a section of a dark history podcast she did about board games. So this wasn't something I just stumbled upon. So thank you for putting this in my brain, Bailey Sarian, because once I learned about it, I was like, nuh-uh. And I had to go look more into it. So today we are talking about Tamara. Yeah, I assume it's pronounced Tamara, not Tamara. Tamara Lee Mason, or as it's known as the Yahtzee murder, which I feel like shouldn't be an existing sentence. And don't look at my nails, they're chipping. Obviously you don't come to this channel for the fashion and the beauty though. This takes place December 25th, 2010. So as you can tell, freaking Christmas. Granted, I think Dahlia Green was also on Christmas. What the heck, people? I did see in different sources, because I always say the age of the victim in case anything on children bothers you. No children are the victims, but I did see different sources saying she was 49 or 50. I'm pretty sure she was 49 though. They may have just rounded up to make it easier. And this takes place in Alberta, Minnesota, and the tiniest little silver lining is it is a solved case. I have questions, but it doesn't matter to anyone that I have questions. This is just something I'm dealing with. Now to start, this will be pretty short, cut dry. So let's just dive in with what little I could find. So from what I could find, and this was from Tamara's obituary, Tamara was born August 31st, 1961 in Adams County, Ohio, to parents Jimmy and Carol Cobb. Now, early childhood she spent in Ohio before moving to Kentucky. Then I saw she did like construction work for electric power plants. So I'd say pretty smart. And then she would eventually move to New Orleans at some point in her life, and she was a bartender there. And she ran a motorcycle repair shop, which I think is very cool. And turns out, yes, she loved to ride. She wasn't just into fixing them, she loved to ride them. It's just part of who she was from what I could find. And then she would eventually, from, I believe, New Orleans, move back to Minnesota in 2005, which is where she stayed until her death, unfortunately. And then at some point in her life, she obviously had her sons, because she does have children, just boys that I'm aware of. Her sons, Jacob and Andrew Cobb. Now, I don't know 100% if their half-brother, Dylan Clemens, was like biologically hers, or if it was like a through marriage, adoption situation. I don't entirely know, but I know the 2 Cobb brothers were half-brother to Dylan, the eldest. So that's really all I could find about Tamara. So we're jumping ahead to Christmas of 2010, where Tamara and the 3 boys were celebrating. I put that in quotations due to what we know now, but they were celebrating Christmas together, and later in the day or night, Tamara she really wants to play some Yahtzee with her boys. They did not, to say the least. So much so, they did not want to play Yahtzee that they killed her. Yeah. I mean, I get being a teenager and maybe not wanting to play a board game with your parents, but normally you don't kill them. So I guess the youngest son, who's Jacob, he's 17 at this time, strangled her on the living room floor. Jacob and then Andrew, who's middle boy, who's 18 at this time, put a plastic bag over her head and a belt around her neck. So bag, belts. They really trying to make sure that strangling was completed, I guess. And then the eldest son, their half brother Dylan, who's 25 at this time, would apparently like drive her body to South Dakota before coming back to Minnesota to hide her body in a garbage can in their shed for a few months. I forgot. I think I saw one article that specified why they were going to South Dakota. I don't know if it was to throw the inevitable search for her, like, to confuse authorities. I don't really know, but I know either way, South Dakota or Minnesota, the ground was too hard, like frozen, to bury her. So they just put her in the garbage can in the shed. All because they didn't want to play Yahtzee. So in the meantime, while she's just in the garage, no, the shed, my bad. The boys were saying, because obviously people noticed she's gone. I don't know how fast. Well, pretty fast. Because in the meantime, the boys were saying their mom, like, she just stormed out because no one wanted to play Yahtzee with her. Like, she took some things and she just left into the night. And they haven't seen her since. That's their story. Now, Dylan, I think, was the oldest, who told the police this because he reported her missing on December 27th. So fast forward to the springtime. So she's been reported as missing. There's really no leads that I saw. I do want to state there's many articles I tried to read, many, but they all like blocked me after the first paragraph unless they wanted to like sign up or pay for their subscription. So there could be more information. I just was not allowed to have it unless I gave someone money. So sorry if I'm missing something terribly obvious. But anyway, springtime. So I guess when the ground was not frozen, the boys would spend a few days digging a big old hole to put her in the backyard. And they're like, all done? It won't be a problem again. Well, here's how things started to unravel. I guess a friend of the eldest, so Dylan's friend, the friend told a deputy that Dylan mentioned having a physical fight with his mother, and then, like on Christmas, and then Dylan asked this friend the best way to dispose of a body. Not suspicious at all. It's everything. It's just totally normal guy talk between buds. And the friend reported this on May 21st, which is nearly 5 months later. It said on the same day, either someone else reported this or I saw another article that said it was the same friend. But more information came that same day that Dylan had told them that his youngest brother Jacob, had indeed strangled their mother. I don't know why he just told this to a friend. Again, just bro talk, I guess. I don't know. And then apparently when this person asked, like, so where is she? Like, what did you do with her body if you're telling the truth? And he said, quote, "Oh, it's somewhere," end quote. Well, it is somewhere, I'll give it that. It's in their backyard. So Dylan, eldest, was first interviewed in June, and he denied everything, which, not surprised. But on July 6, 2011, he allegedly confessed, saying, quote, he didn't know if he could take it anymore and that he wanted to kill their mother, end quote. Now, I don't know if he was referring to Jacob or if this was the police saying it about Dylan. I couldn't figure out like a clear answer, but I think it's pretty safe to say something snapped with Jacob and killing his mom for not wanting to play Yahtzee. So by the next day, again, July 7th, 2011, Tamara's remains were found in her backyard. So, aftermath. So Jacob Cobb, the baby of the group, was sentenced to 15 years in prison after pleading guilty to second-degree murder whilst committing third-degree assault. I feel like that's not enough time but no one asked me. But I did see when doing research that there was a bunch of like back and forth if he was tried as a minor or not. Some said like they were originally going to try him as a minor and then it changed to an adult. So if him being tried as a minor, that could contribute to, I feel like, a light sentence, but I'm not 100% certain. Now the middle son, Andrew Cobb, he was only given about 2 years after pleading guilty to being an accessory after the fact. Again, I don't feel like that's a lot of time, but the eldest son, Dylan, was given nearly 8 years after pleading guilty as an accessory, like after the fact as well. That's where I'm also confused, because if they both, obviously I didn't see like the case file or anything, if they both pleaded guilty to the same thing, Andrew and Dylan, why didn't they get the same sentence? Like, why did Andrew get a significantly shorter sentence? I did see in an article that Dylan had something else unrelated on his record that could be why he was in there longer. Again, I'm not 100% certain, but I just feel like all their sentences were too short, especially because we're jumping ahead to now, which 14 years later, remember, he was sentenced to 15. It's been 14 years. But the middle child, Andrew, I don't know what he's up to. I haven't heard anything about him. I did find, and I was a bit into it when I shouldn't have been. I was looking at court documents for like a case from 2019 about his baby mama taking him to court for child support, because I think he has 2 kids. And I was trying to find like what happens, and I couldn't without reading like hundreds of pages. So he's been back in court, but nothing as extreme. I did see that he, in those few pages I read of the case, that he didn't have to pay or anything because his like income was $0 a month. And now that he's making slightly more money, he has to pay now. But remember when I said he was sentenced to 15 years, the youngest, but it's only been 14? Apparently he got out early because youngest Jacob and oldest Dylan were actually arrested and charged with drug trafficking meth. And they were charged and arrested in June of 2024. So that means he was out after like 12, 13 years of a sentence. I have no idea if they're currently in prison due to these charges of trafficking meth, but I hope so. They don't seem like great guys. I guess if I had to pick my poison, I guess the middle child seems to be the best, has his shit together. I don't know. Because okay, so here's the questions I have, because this is solved. We know it was her sons who did it. But why? Like, we know they didn't want to play Yahtzee. But that's usually not a cause for murder, especially your own mother. So like, what else was happening? Excuse me, ma'am. So that's why I'm like, it's solved, but I have questions. I don't know. She seemed, just based off, construction and motorcycles and bartender, that she's probably, a tough lady. I don't know if, like, I didn't see a man in the picture, if, like, their upbringing wasn't great. But there's plenty of people with shitty upbringings who don't murder their parents. So, what do you think? Because I did see a quote. I'm going to put it up because I'm bummed I didn't write it down because it made me chuckle a little bit. An officer said, they're not the most, like something along the lines of, they're not the most stable family or most functional family, but they're not the worst. Sure, I guess. So that is the case of the Yahtzee murder. But let me know what you think on why Yahtzee was like the snapping point or the breaking point for them. And if you've heard of this case before, because I had not. And it's in the Midwest. And I was alive at this time. Who knew? But anyway, I will see you next time. And be careful who you play Yahtzee with, I guess.